Yo, 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 yo. What's going on? Yeah. What's happening? What's happening? Happy New Week. Happy New Week. I think I said that properly. I don't know. But yeah, so it's a Monday. I didn't have power again today. So uh I didn't want to I didn't want to take a trade off stream like I did last week because when I did, I lost money. So I think we'll keep the streams online. We'll keep the trading online, and then that way, yeah, that way I maintain discipline and all of that. But yeah, but even though I didn't have power, I haven't actually looked at I haven't looked at today's price action. You can see on the chart here, I was actually just back testing. I don't want to say a new strategy, but I guess I was just back testing a new strategy. So, you know, these are previous, yeah, this is just for my back testing. So I'll get rid of these now. And I'll also get rid of these. I had already set my previous day value area. I did that over the weekend and my previous week levels as well. So what we're gonna do, oh yeah, okay, cool. Maybe let's just talk through what I've done. Right, so instead of like drawing the volume profiles, I'm using a volume imprint study. This is just like plotting my volume profiles for each of the days, and I have different settings for these. I got these from actually watched the video by Kai Capital, so this isn't just my genius. So I have like these set in that way. Only thing I really changed is totals, candle totals. I just wanted to see, if, I just wanted to see the positive delta, negative delta, the total volume, and the bid ask percentage, right? That's these numbers over here. So that's the total volume, 347027. That's the delta. The delta is the ask minus the bid, so if there's more buying, you're gonna have positive delta. If there's more selling, you're gonna have negative delta. So yeah, so that's pretty much that on that. And then the different templates and stuff are just for RTH only, RTH and ETH, regular trading hours, extended trading hours, and then my weekly profile stuff, which is how I set the weekly profile, and then a weekly profile for just the RTH. I don't think I'll use that really, but I just thought I'd have it just for comparison's sake. So this was from the 23rd. I generally haven't looked at any charts, so yeah, I'm not capping about that. But yeah, I mean, we're here now, so hold on. Let me see if I can actually. Yeah, I was also watching some trading stuff. By trading stuff, I mean, yeah, I just like to watch and listen to interviews by other traders, and so. Hey, look at that. Okay, I'll attend to that comment later. This is just not the time for me to do that. I just want to check if the stream is actually live and is working. Yeah, okay, cool. Also, I did change my internet settings, so, there is that. But yeah, but that seems all good and stuff. So I guess we will continue. What I want to do, right? The reason why I didn't look at like previous price history and price action is because I want to. There's something new that I want to test, right? Like, so if you're watching like my previous streams, I've always had like two VWAPs. I also had like a Keltner channel set. But yeah, but I also, added the CVD over here. So, kind of added a little more for me to look at. So I am just kind of thinking, it was my thought that like maybe I don't need the regular, not the regular, the overnight view app. And reason being because I have a view app on the New York session, and that should be enough, that should be enough. And then as far as like overextension and all that stuff, like it was helping me like stay out of like moves that were already extended. But then also at the same time, it was kind of making my charts a little clunky, and it was giving me a lot to look at. So I removed that. Everything else is really the same. My big trades are still the same. I still have the overnight high, low, close. Yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. I guess with the volume profiles, just having the bid percentage and the ask percentage, right? That's coming from, if you look at a DOM, right? The bid's over on this side, the ask over on this side. So, if we're buying, right? If price is going higher, if price is okay, if you just like look at this, right? If price moves from 429.50 to 430, right? That's gonna reflect on the ask, right? So we're moving on the ask because the people who are selling are putting their offers on the ask, right? And then the people who are buying have the people who are selling to people on the bid, and the people who are buying from people on the ask. So when price moves up, that's on the ask. When price moves down, that's on the bid. So it's just kind of like an understanding of that. If you understand that, then you'll get why I have like these totals. We will run with this like for I guess for like all of July. We'll keep that on for all of July and just see. There was something interesting that I did find on that. So anyway, enough with the lip service. Yeah. Also, I got a new internet connection, so hopefully my camera doesn't freeze, and we don't get like those things on stream. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do need my motorwave needs to connect to the internet, which I believe I do here. Nope. I do that. Where do I do that? Oh, there we go. File. Oh man, I really don't want to shut it down because my thing is if I shut it down, then I'll see what happened with price. Maybe I don't have a choice. I guess so I have to shut it down. I really, really wanted to. I didn't want to have a look at price action because then, like, I feel like that's gonna compromise my back test. Not my back test, my forward testing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. 50K. There we go. It's gonna load, and I'm gonna see what happened with the price action. We'll pretend. I really tried my best, man. I don't want to lie to you. I really don't want to. Okay. Cool. I didn't see anything. I swear. Maybe connect it here. Where are you? Motorwave. Ale. Man, I've already seen what happened. Ignoring it. Today is the 29th. 9:30. I've already seen the charts. That's fun. I really wanted to just like have a look at, just like run it going forward and just keep it at that. But yeah, let's switch off the volume imprint for now and the view app and the big trades so that this can load Anytime now. Anytime now. No pressure. You know, we're just doing this on the internet. Okay, cool. Uh, and yeah, okay, so let's switch on the volume imprint. There's another chart that I have over here, which is like a 1 hour chart. Again, this is from Kai Capitals. I mean, I do want to claim the brilliance, but it's not all me. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. It's not all me. Shout out Kai Capital. Yeah, and then I also watched a masterclass on Chart Fanatics. I watched the Fabio Valentini masterclass, and yeah, I guess this is also where Kai got this the idea to do this, right? But basically, like looking at it like this, what you get to see is you get to see the volume profiles, right, from each day. Yeah, you get to see the volume profiles from each day, right? So 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, etc., right? And why is this important? Well, because if you get to see how price is moving, let me switch this off. Yeah, it had like the low volume nodes on, which I was also just like kind of messing around with. But yeah, but I mean, like if you're looking at this, right, you get to see how price is moving, right? How the auction is moving. So that's like from 1 day. So that was price that day, right? And then the next day being from regular trading hours, and from the next day, then we shifted higher, right? We shifted higher, cool, and then we gapped. And this gap is probably where you're gonna find the overnight session, right? And then we gapped up, okay, cool, and then we're here, and then we started moving lower, right? So if you think about it, as far as like the moves that you're trying to catch, like let's start from here, okay? Say we start from here. We had price move down to the previous days, which is this volume profiles, the previous day's value area low, and then it went to the previous day value area high and it closed above, right? Like price moved higher, right? But the open was within this volume profile, the previous day's volume profile. And so we had that entire move from value area low to value area high. Okay, cool. How about the next day? Then on the next day, we didn't get all the way down to the value area low, but we also broke above what was the value area high, right, of the previous day. That's information. Then we gapped up. Cool. We gapped up. We had a rotational day. How do I know it was a rotational day? Because it's a D-shaped volume profile. All right, cool. And then the day after, what happens the day after? The day after, we opened somewhat in between the previous day's volume profile. And then from there, we did test the other side of it, which is the value area high. And then we rotated to its value area low. So we can see like a Dalton rule played out here, value area high to value area low from inside this volume profile. And then again, we come here. Cool. This time, we try to rotate all the way, excuse me, we try to rotate all the way high. We didn't get to the value area high. And then instead, we broke below the value area low. Okay, that's information. And then the next day, we opened within the value. We didn't hit either one of those value areas, right? We're just within. And so just like kind of like looking at the volume profiles like that, you kind of get an idea of structure. And then over on the right side over here, then what we have here is we have a composite volume profile, which is the entire volume of the last 20 days. So from each of these volume profiles, right, over the last 20 days, this is where value is. So we can see clearly that's where the value area low is, 355, that's where the value area high is, right? Again, we're looking at this chart, and we're starting on the 29th, which is today, right? So that's why we have that, that's why that's present. And then coming over here, what we have the overnight session, right? So we're gonna mark that up. Okay, we're gonna mark this up, and yeah, look, we're gonna mark this up now, and just see what levels were respected, what happened with the volume profile, and etc. Right. So this is the overnight value area high. I mean, I could get a little more precise, but that does look like it's right where it's supposed to be. Uh, and then this is the overnight point of control. This is the reason why we have these levels, right? Well, the reason why I put these levels on is because sometimes you don't get a, sometimes you're not at the previous day's value. Do you know what I mean? And so the only levels that you have to decide direction or place a trade or whatever, right, are the Globix values. So, I like to have them on. I'm gonna switch on the previous day levels as well, and then also switch on the previous week levels. Okay, so we have everything. So we have everything on the chart. So let me just lock them so that the overnight stuff. Cool. And that way I don't, move stuff by mistake. Okay. But so let's run it. Let's run it forward and let's see what we possibly could have done. All right. My favorite trades are trades from the overnight point of control. Overnight point of control going higher. But yeah, though I just seem to have a statistical edge on those. Like all the trades that I take from there, I win most of them, and those have been my best trades from the previous month. So yeah, so I mean, let's see what happened today. I'm gonna drop the speed down to 5, and then we'll just like talk about it as it's going on. We'll also watch the CVD, and I'll try and explain my understanding of the CVD, cumulative delta, and why and why we have it on. So 9:30 again. I'm not drawing the volume profiles. Shout out Kai. You know, I still have them on, but you know, now that we have the volume imprint study, this kind of plots them automatically. Yeah, so okay, over here, let me switch that bit delta stuff on. Oh, settings, totals, candle totals. Yeah, these are supposed to be on. Why are they not showing? Ah, the text is in white. Tut, tut, tut. Okay, update. There we go. You'll see like as I mean you'll notice as like prices moving up and down. Just watch like these percentages, right? Again, bid side buys. I mean bid side sells, our side buys, right? So if we have a higher percentage on the right, then we have more buys coming in, right? And then the delta is the ask minus the bid. So right now, it makes sense. Our delta is negative, right? So just watching this number to see how it changes, you know. Also, everything in context, right? It's not just a thing of like I'm watching these numbers at any point in the charts. Like it's gonna be at key levels, right? Previous day value area high, overnight value area low, previous week point of control, and then also again at initial balance. Like these are the main levels that we have, and then again also watching value area high, point of control, value area low, So our window would open at 9:45. So just watch the 9:45 there. That's when we'd be looking at taking a trade. But yeah, CVD going up makes sense. Overnight value area high. Still pretty early in the trading window. I wouldn't have taken a trade at that point. Damn, I mean, is my CVD even like working properly? 1 second, family. Does not look right. Does not look right at all. There we go. That's much better. All right, so again, you can see like positive delta, right? Positive delta, look on the R side, 54%. So like buyers are in control, clearly. Obviously, you can be like, oh yeah, of course buyers are in control. How do you know this? Because like we've been going up. Makes sense, right? But then if we start to see this number shift, right? So if we start to see this number shift, If it starts going lower, that means that sellers are stepping in, right? Mathematically, 3,971. Whatever the ask is, this is ask minus bid. So whatever the ask is a bigger number than the delta, than the bid, which is why we have such a big delta. But once this number starts going down, then we know that sellers are stepping in. We're also going to see it possibly on the charts here with the candles, and we're also going to see it on the CVD. It's just that like sometimes when buyers do start stepping in, we don't always see it. We don't always see it from the candles like at the same time, So okay, cool. Why are you tripping now, boss? Trying to forward test and you are already out here tripping. Okay, cool. There we go. So 4,000. So buyers are pretty much still in control. Do we get a bounce off the overnight levels? Nothing. So you see, we went from 4,000. Now we're at 3,600. So clearly, sellers stepped in, right? Our delta's at 4K and now it's at 3.5. So we start seeing this go up. So for example, this, right, at that point, we were like 3,500 and then like our delta started going up. And then also on the CVD, we had like a down candle on the CVD, but we're already at value area low, right? So still early within the window, but say if you to do something like this, right? If that was your entry at that point, and then you target like maybe say the point of control or something like that, these are just like theses. Like it's not, I haven't tested this long enough for me to say, oh, for sure, But as long as we can stay above 4,000, then price should move higher. There we go, 4,600. If we can get a 5,000, then for sure that overnight, not overnight, that point of control should be hit. Of which the point of control has shifted now. So, but now, okay, cool. Now that the point of control is shifted, at what point? At what point are we likely to get a retest of a level? Right, it's going to be at the value area high. All right, so that's the structural point. That's somewhere we can target logically. Again, could have been like my trade because, like, you see what I was saying about like the overnight point of control. Like these are statistically like my best trades, and we also got that touch of it. Let's see if we get a previous week value area high. But 4,000, if we start rotating, if like the delta then shifts into the 3,000s, then we know that like sellers are now stepping in again, But above 4K, that's still good, But if the delta shifts from 4,000 to 3,000, you know what I mean? But yeah, but now that like the delta's at 5,000, now I'd be looking at like, okay, if the delta gets below 4,500, so, and also just like watching the CVD, it's not really moving up that much, is it? Really like this trade would have been from like somewhere here, not that low, but you get the point. You get why I put, that was just to explain why I have the delta stuff on. 5.4, previous week value area high, so 6,000. Delta also, I mean the CVD on the right. All right. So now from this point, now let's start to see if like does anything shift? Like do we get confirmation that like actually in fact we want to continue this move higher, or do we then start losing some of the delta? So from 6,300, do we then rotate into the 5,000s? Does the CVD shift negative? That type of thing. So just watching 6,000, CVD is not really moving that much. 6,500. 6,700, 7,000. Okay, cool. Now that we're at 7,000, now I'll be looking at if we get into the 6,000s. Ask is still strong. The ask is still 52%. Here we go. Value area high also shifted with it. So looking for, okay, maybe like roundabout here because the CVD isn't really like changing much. Maybe roundabout here. Now that's when I'd like maybe then start considering a short, right? Because also our delta is shifting lower, right? So I'd retarget maybe the other side of this volume profile. Nothing too hectic. Stops would have been wide though, like a 12-point stop. Just still pretty wide. But that would have been about like $300 worth of risk. But for close to 550. Also structurally, reason why that could be something is because we're also at the value area low, right? I mean value area high. So let's could have actually like been front running that. But looking at, okay, maybe looking at a break below previous week value area high and a retest of it, so CVD not really moving higher. Delta kind of picked up. Okay, here we go. Okay, 6,000s. So maybe then now at this point, now we can actively say, okay, cool. Now let's look for the retest of this level, right? The retest of the previous week value area high. Still keep out our stop, I guess, at 12 points, just $300. It's kind of uncomfortable though, I'm gonna lie. Let's see. Is there a retest of it? Okay, so I guess that's the retest. Does it go lower or would it have stopped us out? Also just wanting to see, okay, cool. That's another thing that I've noticed like from the previous month. Anytime the volume profile was like the value area high, I don't know whether you noticed the value area high shifting higher, right? But I mean, it was somewhere here. Anytime like the value area high would shift higher and the profile would start to look like this, I'd be in a long, I'd be trying to hold that long, and like price would just rotate, like price would like immediately, like price would just like shift lower, maybe not like immediately, but I would get stopped out of my longs, once that structural shift happened, you know what I mean? So let's see if that plays out or if I was capping, if I was just like unlucky on those days, but there it is. There's that test of the value area high, does it break lower than the previous week value area high? Also watching the CVD over this side, that's also picking up. 6,000s. Value area low. See, that value area low is shifted also. So maybe even like a rotation from here. There we go. Okay, a break lower than this, then maybe like targeting previous week point of control now, right? Try and make as much money, try and squeeze as much money out of this as possible, because we have the CVD also confirming delta shifted from 7,000, to about 5,000 now, so no sudden movements, no like moving of stops or anything, also structurally we retested the overnight point of control. So as long as price doesn't close above this, then then that makes sense as a target. Also watching the delta 4,600. If we can get to 3,000s, then If we can get to 3,000, there we go. 3,000. Does it go lower? It's more so, it's not like, it's not a thing of I put these on so that like I time my entries or what. Like my entries haven't been a problem in a while. Like I mean, yeah, like from time to time I will get like, say, maybe I'll call a direction wrong, right? Which is okay. I mean, I don't mind that so much because it's trading, and also, you know, the you are gonna lose some trades, right? You are gonna close days red. You are gonna have maybe like a streak of like red days, right? But what's important is that like of from those red days, you keep yourself in the game long enough for you to come back. Because when you do catch moves, I want to be able to catch like these structural moves, right? Where it's like, why does this make sense? Why did this make sense as well? This makes sense because this is from previous week value area high. If we don't find support above that, if we don't break above that, then we should be rotating lower, right? We should go to the previous week point of control structurally. And then now the reason why I have like these other things like the cumulative delta, and why I have like the delta, also the numbers on here. It was like reading it from here. I guess, yeah, 2,539. There's a 2,539. It's not magic or anything, right? But being able to see the shift in the delta also in it gives me information, right? It tells me that there's actually a structural shift, which is mathematical, which is, because I know maths, right? It's not like that complicated. It's really just like subtracting numbers, right? I'm just not gonna be looking at how many bids are there, how many asks are there, how many bids are there, and then like subtracting that myself. If I can see it structurally on a chart, then I'll see that. And the reason why I want to have this on, like going into like the next month, is so that I can hold my trades longer, right? If I do lose, like say like the risk on this trade was $300. If this was wrong, then I guess this was gonna be wrong, right? But yeah, that would you do have to put on risk. And I did also up my risk amount on trade C from $200 to my daily loss limit shifted from $200 to $500, and my risk into each of these trades is 400. That's like the max amount, which is the equivalent of losing two trades in a day. Yeah, and maybe I could have like considered maybe like shifting my risk, my risk amount, but also at the same time, I do wanna, I don't want to shift from I enter like my trades with like five contracts, and then on some trades I'm entering with three, on some I'm entering with four, on some I'm entering with two. Like now I'll size appropriately, right? I'll size appropriately. Like, okay, cool. This is 12 points. This is 12 points from the previous week value area high, right? I don't have a structural level above this that's going to determine where my trade is invalidated. If it was somewhere else, I would though, right? If it was like, say, like this overnight point of control long, the point where it was going to be invalidated was on at the bottom of this candle, or maybe at the bottom of this one, since we're trying to catch along, right? So kind of like allowing my stops to have the right amount of size for the trade to play out, because I've been able to call the direction right, so it's just me though. Yeah, let's see if this previous week point of control is gonna get hit or not, because I could have been talking a lot of game and then price just like rotates to the other side. But the CVD is also supporting it. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of like buy delta coming in just as of yet, you know. But yeah, again, like structurally, can we rotate from here? Yeah. Reason being, this is the value area low, right? So this could rotate all the way back to here, you know. And now it's just a thing of like watching the delta. So we actually shot up to 3,000 and then it came back to 2,000 again. So Um, a break of these lows and then previous week point of control. $2,000. Yeah, I think that was it. All right, so that would have been our trade done. Yeah, shouldn't have been too bad of a trade, to be honest. With 5 contracts, it would be half of this amount, so about 800 and something dollars. And that's also kind of like what I was thinking. I was like, if I am gonna win, right? If I am gonna win like these trades, not that I'm trying to hit like home runs all the time, right? But if on good days, if I'm gonna hold, if on good days, if I'm gonna win trades, like let me win as much as I can so that I can make up for the days that I lose trades. All right, because I know I will. There will be a point. There will come a time when I go on some form of a streak or some form of a slump, right? But if I can catch three, if I even if I can catch like two really good 800 to $1,000 trades, right? If I can catch two of those, that's like almost a grand six. And then from the trades that I lose, if I'm losing 300, 300, 300, that's like it's like a $900 loss, right? In total. You know what I mean? And that's with me being really out of pocket. You know what I mean? And even then to go, okay, cool. Maybe this is a bit much. We're now below this. Then maybe I can shift my stop to the top of this high, right? And then that's a structural invalidation now, where it's like, okay, cool, we got the break of the previous week value area high, right? If this is a fake out and it so happens that I am gonna get stopped out, right, then it's just gonna be 7 points. It's gonna be $175. Instead of the full 300 that I had put in as risk. You know, and then once you break like say structural levels or whatever, then it could be a thing of like, okay, cool. Now that we've broken below the overnight point of control, I'm gonna put my stop at the overnight point of control. You know what I mean? And then secure whatever this amount is. It's about 450. And now it's like, okay, cool. I've secured 450. Now I'm just like letting it run. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I was like thinking about it. So that's how I was thinking about it, man. I don't know. But yeah, let's see. It does also kind of look like there could potentially have been some form of a Dalton rule play. What's the Dalton rule? Dalton rule is previous week value area high to previous week value area low. Why am I calling that? Because we did open above the previous day value, right? So this is the previous day value. Let me switch. If I switch off the open, high, low, close, right? There's our previous day value area high. We opened above it, and then price did whatever it was doing, and now we're kind of moving towards that. So let's see if the delta can start shifting a lot more negative, then maybe that did play out. But let's watch and see. That possibly could have been that could possibly have been a second trade. Okay, so also watching the bid and ask, yeah. So the ask is at 50%, 50.39, and the bid's at 49.61. So if we see the bid side become a little more than the ask side, then definitely we're in for more downside. Okay, so that's a break. It's a break of the previous day value area high. Let's see if that played out. Structural invalidation point would probably be the point of control. So again, so that's 11 points. That's like about 250 $250. Maybe even as an easier target, the previous day point of control. But yeah, but to see the full Dalton rule play out, we would be targeting the previous day value area low. So about another 36 or some points. I guess if like I really wanted to be a little more risk averse, I could still make the same trades and then size down, right? I know I did say a lot about like sizing down and stuff, but I could, instead of going 300, what's two-fifths of 300 would be 180. So I could still go, three lots. I mean, three contracts here and risk $180 at 12 points, you know? Yeah. And still make more than 400 bucks on this trade if it plays out. And that's if, a retest of the previous day value area high even did happen. There we go. So that's the previous day value area high. So I put this at the previous day point of control. Previous week point of control, my bad. Stop would go here. So yeah, so let's see if this played out. Also, the delta is also shifting negative. If this starts like popping up to like the 2Ks, 3Ks, then, possibly we rotate all the way back up, which could be a thing. Also, the CVD supports the move, which I guess is a no-brainer because we can see it from the delta here. I guess this is just more of a visual representation of it, right? But yeah, but like looking at it like this, then I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I think I can hold this a little longer. Like this is like so nervy for me, like most of the time, all of the time actually, when I'm streaming and when I am taking trades, because I don't know. I'm like, hey, look, dude, like what? Okay, for example, here, this is perfect. Previous day point of control, right? Okay, so we're previous day point of control right now. My thing is, at this point, I'm nervous because I don't want price to go back. Although I don't want price to rotate all the way back to previous day value area high, right? I don't want to be stopped out. Also, most of the time, what I would have done, all the time, not even most of the time, what I always do is I'll be moving my stop. I'll trail 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 my stop. Okay, cool. Maybe I put my stop here, all right? Because now we're at the previous day point of control, whatever. Because I don't want to get stopped out. But now that we are looking at the delta, right? The delta is at 267. Cumulative delta is also looking bearish over here on this chart on the CVD, right? Another thing I actually forgot to switch on was the big trades, and I also didn't switch on the view app, which actually makes you think like, do we actually need all of this stuff? Do we need the view app? Do we need, I think we do. I think we do. Because also like a break of view app is also a structural confirmation for me that like we're going lower. Price being above view app is also structural confirmation to me that we're going higher. So getting this bounce, right, round about, what was this, 939, right, off view app and plus overnight point of control is such a really dope long. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I should have had that on. My bad. We'll keep this overnight high-low closed because initial balance isn't even set just as of yet. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, but let's watch it. Let's see if it did come and hit the previous day value area low. Okay, here we go. So point of control, delta starts shifting up. 400, 500. Does it drop below 200? Does it drop to the hundreds? There we go. And now our delta is 100% negative. One sec, guys. All right, guys. But yeah, what was I saying? I was saying, cool. Like we saw where our delta was, right? And then now our delta's shifted. Now our delta's negative. Clearly, now what that means is that now sellers are more in control, right? And you can see it also on the bid side. We have 50% on the bid, in comparison to 49% on the ask. All right, so that's structural. That's not that's not guesswork. It's not guesswork. It's not it's not arbitrary. It's not discretionary. I guess it is somewhat discretionary, but it isn't really because these are values. This is like what's actually happening on the DOM, right? On in the book, you know. So, but yeah, here we go. More negative delta. Get to a K, and then it shifted higher. Let's see. Let's see how this played out. I was like super close to the previous day value area low though. But still, the delta is still negative, right? That's not a good sign. Seeing buyers at the bottom of a candle, you know. So yeah, so I mean, like now when delta shifts positive, then I guess then that would be a call to get out of that trade, right? Maybe even like structurally having the stop at the previous day point of control, you know, or maybe just kind of saying, look, I'm not going to be a dick for a tick, right? Um, but yeah, but I do still think that this did play out though. Let's watch it. Let's watch it and see. I'm, I'm, I'm it's I'm interested to see how this worked out. Was there support found at the previous day point of control? Nah. Again, it's just like watching the delta, you know? Watching the delta. Yeah. Because you look like an idiot if you're like trying to hold all the way down to to the previous day value area low and this rotated and stopped you out. Like you feel so bad. But yeah, I think like honestly, I think like just seeing these cells here would have been enough to say, okay, cool, you know what, like let me get out of this. You know what I mean? 10-14. I am also playing it at times 5 speed, so we possibly could have had a little more time to react. But yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like from where we were here when the delta was negative, right, to the delta being positive, right, and not even like just positive, like from negative 1,000 to 2,500. You know, that's big and that's super structural. Maybe let's take it back to 10-13. 10-13. Let's watch what happened with the delta again. Let's let that play out. And maybe we can play it at a slower speed and figure it out together, you know. Times 3 speed, yeah, because I mean I also don't want to I don't want you guys to be here the whole day. All right, so what are we saying? We're saying we're at 483 delta, all right? Okay, seller stepped in, point of control, 290. Bless you. Seller stepping in again at the bottom of that candle. Do they move it lower? Buyers also stepping in. Okay, so that's negative 590 now. right? So structurally, I guess, where can the stop go? Maybe at this level where these sellers stepped in, either there or, because we already broken this previous day point of control, right? Maybe we put it structurally at 416. Whatever whatever these sellers are. I'm trying to see how big these guys were. 416. All right, so 416. 416.25, 416. Slow it down some more. Is this where we get stopped out? Or yeah, and I mean, look at that. Minus 874. Minus 900. Minus 1000. I mean, unless you like shift to like a 30-second chart. 16. I mean, this is pretty substantial. This is what? 6 points is 150 bucks. 409. Delta's at a minus 1.4 almost. Yeah, and then it just shot up. So from minus 1.4 to minus 600. So that's structural information. Like, what does that mean? It means that like buyers really stepped in. Buyers really stepped in. You know what I mean? So I guess maybe like the lesson would be like trailing as close as possible to the target, Yeah. But somewhat of a Dalton rule, not really a full Dalton rule playing out, but somewhat of a Dalton rule. And then, yeah, that's a complete structural shift now. That's the complete structural shift. So, yeah, maybe even like trading right till that very last seller, Yeah, because I think the only way you really could have been able to see it is if you're using a 30-second chart. I mean, like, do I want to... Nah, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. But yeah, but I mean, like, even at this point, even if you stopped out here, that's what, 425, right? 415, 410, 410 bucks. It's not a train smash. It's not a bad trade at all. And also if you're compounding those, right? And you go, okay, base it. I'll take the easiest move, right? I'll take the easiest move and then put my stop. And then whatever happens after, I'll take whatever happens after. Maybe that doesn't happen like all the time, but maybe out of like your 5 trading days, that happens 3 out of those days, right? And you manage to get an extra 400, an extra 300 on top of that, right? You add those up, then that will compound. That's an extra 900 bucks at the end of the week that you otherwise wouldn't have been in if you weren't watching some of these things. You know what I mean? And also to not just assume that like, okay, cool, like this is a Dalton rule, so I know for a fact it's going to hit the previous day value area low, because I mean, like, look at that. That's like barely, that barely touched, so yeah, and I think whatever happened after, right? Whatever happened after. We can watch. I mean, let's watch what happened at initial balance, and then we'll call that a video. We'll get back on stream tomorrow, and I do have power. 9:30 EST. But yeah, but those are real move again, like trying to break that low, which didn't actually happen. Wouldn't actually have been too mad at you if you tried to hold this longer at this point. But again, sellers stepping in there. So Seller stepping in and that being at the bottom of a candle, on the wick of a candle, that's your exit sign, you know. Or it could be your entry sign now for you to be like, okay, now let me long this. But if you just took that short and then you're getting into a trade immediately after, I mean, that would be ballsy. But there would be reason to do that because, again, like if you're watching the delta did shift, you know. Here's a retest of the previous day point of control from the other side, and still this time your delta is positive, right? Your delta is positive. You're watching over here on the CVD. The CVD supports that move. You had that big trade at the bottom of this candle, you know, so yeah. So maybe there's a reason to keep it, eh? Buys at the top of that candle, but the buys are still in control. How do we know this? Because you can see from the delta. You know, you can see from the delta. I think I'll use like a 1,000 thing. Like, so if you know, if the delta shifts from say 1,000 to negative, then I know that like, okay, sellers have really stepped in. If delta shifts from like 2K to 1,000, then I'm like, okay, cool. Buys have, you know, or the other way around, from 1,000 to 2,000, then I know buyers have stepped in, you know, that type of thing. But yeah, I think at this point, the overnight levels are kind of a distraction. They're not as useful at this point. Just something that I've noticed, you know. It's something I've noticed. But here we go. Previous day value high. Delta still positive. Does it shift negative here? 2004, 2005. So 2.5 is our base level now. Do we break above it? 2,800. I guess like the next, if we can break above the previous week point of control, then the next place to see would be, to watch would be the VWAP, right? Like, does it get smacked down on the VWAP, or does the VWAP also support that move, you know, for continuation above? You know, but again, watching the delta 3,000. If you get to 2,000, then we're looking at a rotation lower. But here we go, 3,900. 4,000, that's going to be a break. Break and retest. Oops. Break and retest. 5,000 on the delta. So initial balance is officially set. But now that's shifted now to 4,000. So we can hold the 4,000s. Where did it go? Oh, to the top. Yeah. Structurally, where would your stop go? Here. Previous week point of control. It's up the speed because all I really want to see is what happened at initial balance. Or if, you know, if there was a test of initial balance in the first place. $6,000. Yeah, if that doesn't hold, then, you know. chances are, if like our value areas are still within the initial balance, which like the initial balance is a range, right? So if our value areas are still within an initial balance, then what you can expect is a test of that initial balance and then a rotation down to a VWAP or something, or to a next logical level, right? So if you look at it again, like it's 11 a.m. EST. So what does that mean? It means that like the big market participants have already entered the market because they enter typically after 10:30, right? And they're the ones who are going to determine what happens with this auction hereafter. You know what I mean? So without the value areas being outside of the initial balance, what you can basically, it's kind of like saying 70% of the auction is within initial balance, you know. So do they have any incentive to move it higher? You know, it doesn't look like it at this point. You know, at least that's like my understanding of it. It's not a written rule. I guess it kind of is. If you read Jim Dalton's uh, market profile, man, what's the name of that book? Kind of talks about it, but like he doesn't talk about it using volume profiles. He talks about it using TPOs, you know, it's a time price opportunity, which kind of plots like a volume profile, but instead, what you get is you get like prints per 30 minutes, and you know, it's a different read of like the market, and but kind of like similar with the volume profile. I just like read that bits of it, at least. I'm not gonna say I read the whole thing. I read bits of it, and then I kind of adapted what I understood to volume profile, you know. But yeah. Okay, look, that's 11:30 on the clock. That would be past our trading window, so that would be a wrap. So whatever happened here happened. But yeah, we figured out this previous week value area low fade. Shout out. I know a lot of people probably caught that. I'll go check Kai Capital. If you're not subscribed to his channel, you should go check out his channel because he has a lot of in-depth videos on some of the things that I trade, and some of these setups and stuff. He has like videos on that, on like volume imprint and volume profiles and all of that stuff. So yeah, I learned a lot of stuff from him. So my way of kind of giving back, you know. So if you get there, if you've watched this far into the video and you do actually go and you check out Cat Capsule's videos, tell him you were sent by Indigo. And yeah, I know he probably caught one of these moves. Maybe this would have been early because I know his window starts in 30 minutes, like 30 minutes into New York. So probably, I don't know, probably like a fade of this. Yeah, probably tried the Dalton rule, to be honest. I don't know, I haven't watched the video yet, but I haven't watched this trade recap, but I have a feeling he probably tried that, you know. Yeah. But yeah, let's switch this off now and see if we even did get an initial balance anything. We didn't. We got nothing on the initial balance. Nothing. Didn't even touch nothing. You know, only touch we had was at the bottom here, so no initial balance trade. But yeah, but still net positive. I mean, like, see, if you had like held this, right? We were looking at it we were here, right, at 11:30. If you had held that, would have got you a previous week value area high. Not a bad trade, about 30 something points. Not a bad trade at all. Or if you caught this fade from value area high, you know, all the way to value area low to value area high, you know, it still could have been super profitable. Could have been really good for you. So yeah, man, look, that's gonna be it from me. Not too bummed I missed out on the day, but it would have been cool to trade. You know, it would have been a cool little day to trade. But yeah, here's our volume profile from today. There's the thing I was talking about. What did we do? We opened outside. We know we opened outside, right? Broke inside previous day value. We didn't actually get to hit the previous day value area low, right? If we zoom in, probably hit like some low volume node, which is why we rotated like that. I mean, there's a low volume node over here. Right, I mean over here. Let me draw it out for you guys. Right, a small low volume node. You know. Yeah. That's probably where we found a little bit of support. Didn't actually get all the way down to the value area low. Should be in how many points? 2 points? 1.5 points? I mean, if you yeah, I mean, for 1.5 points, bro. She lost that trade for 1.5 points. You'd be mad. I'd be pissed off because it didn't come back at all. And we just saw that. It didn't come back at all. So, but yeah, that's gonna be it from me, man. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll have power. Hopefully, I'll have electricity, and I'll be able to come back and do this online, and everything will be all good. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. Won't make any sudden movements. We'll trade it the way that I understand it, and whatever happens. There's nothing else I can do about it. Of course, I'll just make sure that I manage the risk appropriately and all of that. I still will journal this day, and yeah, I'll journal it as a no trade day. It will go down on my board as a break-even day, even though we didn't trade anything. But just so that the stats are there. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Love you guys so much. Make sure you take care of yourself. Yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. I'll catch you tomorrow at 9:30 EST.